Welcome to What If Deku Had Sun Breathing as a Quirk Part 2. Please like and subscribe and enjoy the video. 3 days before the sports festival, the atmosphere at UA had changed. The laughter in the hallways had become quieter. The smiles of the students were mixed with determination. The USJ attack had shown them one terrifying truth. Being a hero wasn't a game. It wasn't television. It wasn't flashy costumes and cheering crowds. Heroes bled. Heroes suffered. Heroes died. Izuku stood alone on training ground Gamma just before sunrise. The morning air was cool, carrying the scent of dew and freshly cut grass. He closed his eyes, inhaled slowly. The familiar rhythm of sun breathing filled his lungs. 1, 2, 3. Golden light danced around his body. Leaves gently lifted from the ground as warm air spiraled around him. For several peaceful seconds, the world became silent. You're improving. Izuku opened his eyes. All Might stood at the edge of the field in his thin form. Even exhausted, he wore a warm smile. Good morning, All Might. I expected to find you asleep. Izuku rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. I couldn't. Thinking about the sports festival? Yes. All Might walked beside him. For a moment neither spoke. The sunrise slowly painted the sky orange. Finally, All Might broke the silence. You're worried. Izuku nodded. I've become stronger. He looked at his hands. Every fight makes me stronger. But what if I become so focused on strength that I stop noticing the people I'm trying to save? All Might's smile softened. When I first became the symbol of peace, I asked Nana Shimura almost the exact same question. Izuku looked surprised. What did she say? All Might looked toward the rising sun. Power doesn't decide who you are. Your choices do. If you continue running toward people instead of away from them, you'll never lose yourself. Those words settled deep within Izuku's heart. Across campus, Bakugo trained alone. Boom. Another explosion shattered a concrete target. Boom. Another. Boom. Again. Sweat dripped from his face. His palms burned. His breathing became ragged. Damn it. He punched the wall. Cracks spread across the concrete. Everywhere he looked, people talked about Midoriya, the kid with golden flames, the student who fought beside All Might, the future #1. Each headline felt like another explosion inside his chest. I refuse. I refuse to fall behind. For the first time in his life, Bakugo stopped training to prove he was better than everyone else. He trained because he had finally found someone ahead of him. And despite everything, that tiny spark of rivalry would become one of the greatest motivations of his life. Elsewhere, Shoto Todoroki stood in front of a frozen lake on UA's training grounds. He raised one hand. A glacier erupted across the water. The ice stretched hundreds of feet. Normally, that would have satisfied him. Today, it didn't. He remembered watching Midoriya fight the Nomo. Not just the strength, the control, the calm, the way he smiled while protecting people. It reminded Todoroki of someone. Not his father. Never Endeavor. Someone else. Someone worthy of admiration. I need to know just how strong you really are. That night, Izuku dreamed again. Darkness surrounded him. Then light. The familiar world inside One for All appeared. This time, the silhouettes were clearer than ever. 9 figures stood in a circle. The first user stepped forward. You've adapted faster than any successor. Izuku looked around. So this place is real? It exists within the power. Another figure spoke. The bond between your breathing technique and One for All is accelerating our connection. Izuku frowned. What does that mean? The second user answered. Normally, a successor doesn't begin communicating with us until much later. You've opened the door years early. A silence followed. Then the third user stepped forward. Tell us, what exactly is your breathing? Izuku explained everything. How his quirk strengthened his body. How every form required perfect breathing. How the transparent realm allowed him to perceive muscles, blood flow, and movement. The vestiges listened quietly. When he finished, the first user smiled. I see. This isn't merely a quirk. It's a discipline, a way of life. Then his expression became serious. And because of that, One for All is beginning to evolve. Golden energy flowed around the vestiges. For the first time, Izuku noticed something strange. Instead of the usual green lightning, tiny golden threads connected him to every previous holder, almost like rays of sunlight. The first user looked down at them. It has begun. What has? The inheritance. Not just our power. Our experience. Our instincts. Our understanding. You won't simply grow stronger. You'll begin learning from us. Izuku's eyes widened. You're saying, I'll be able to fight using techniques I've never learned? The first user nodded. Only fragments. For now. But eventually, you will carry generations of heroes within you. Before Izuku could ask another question, the dream faded. Izuku woke before dawn. Immediately, he picked up a wooden practice sword. Without thinking, his body moved. A stance. One he'd never practiced. One he'd never seen. His feet shifted naturally. His breathing changed. The blade moved. One smooth strike. The air itself seemed to split. What? He stopped. His notebook lay open nearby. Quickly, he began writing. Observation number 247. Possible vestige memory transfer. Muscle memory appears to remain after communication inside One for All. Need additional testing. Potential combat applications unknown. He smiled. This is incredible. Hours later, the gates to UA's massive stadium opened. Thousands of spectators filled the seats. Television cameras pointed toward the arena. Professional heroes filled the observation booths. Students from every department gathered below. President Mick's voice echoed throughout the stadium. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the UA Sports Festival. Thunderous applause erupted. Class 1A entered the arena. Cheers exploded from the crowd. Many spectators recognized the students immediately. That's the class that survived the villain attack. Who's the kid with the golden flames? That's Midoriya. They say he fought beside All Might. Izuku felt hundreds of eyes watching him. For a brief moment, he became nervous. Then he remembered All Might's words. Power doesn't decide who you are. Your choices do. He took a slow breath. Golden warmth filled his lungs. And smiled. High above the stadium, in a private viewing box, a scarred man watched silently. His mechanical eye focused on one student. Izuku Midoriya. The number 2 hero, Endeavor, folded his arms. He had come expecting to watch his son dominate the festival. Instead, his attention kept drifting toward the green-haired boy with the calm eyes and the strange golden aura. Interesting, he muttered quietly. Far away, hidden within the shadows of another building, Tamura Shigaraki watched the live broadcast. His fingers twitched against the hand covering his face. There you are, the boy who shines like the sun. His lips slowly curled into a smile. This time, I'll learn everything about you. The roar of over 40,000 spectators echoed through UA Stadium. Television cameras swept across the arena. Professional heroes watched from VIP balconies. Talent scouts from hero agencies filled entire rows. Every student knew the sports festival was more than a competition. It was an audition. One performance could shape a future hero's career. One mistake could bury it. President Mick's booming voice echoed through the stadium. Ladies and gentlemen, the first event is a massive holographic screen lit up above the field. Obstacle course. The stadium erupted with cheers. The course stretched for nearly 4 kilometers. The path twisted through the cityscape of Training Ground Gamma and included giant combat robots, electrified minefields, crumbling ravines, narrow mountain passes, dense forests filled with support robots, a final sprint through a collapsing canyon. The challenge wasn't just speed, it was adaptability. As the students made their way to the starting gates, Izuku looked around. Ida stood straight-backed and determined. Ochiko bounced lightly on her feet, trying to calm her nerves. Kirishima wore his usual confident grin. Bakugo cracked his neck, eyes fixed straight ahead. Todoroki stood silently, his expression unreadable. Izuku closed his eyes. One deep breath. No matter what happens, I'm going to give everything I have. Not to win, to become someone worthy of One for All. Ready. The heavy blast doors began to rise. 3. Steam hissed from hidden vents. 2. The students leaned forward. 1. A deafening horn sounded. Go! Nearly 200 students exploded forward at once. The entrance immediately became a bottleneck as dozens tried to squeeze through the narrow opening. Students pushed. Others stumbled. Several were knocked to the ground. Izuku didn't force his way through. Instead, he took a slow breath. The world sharpened. His hearing faded. The rhythm of hundreds of heartbeats filled his ears. The transparent realm activated. Every student became a moving puzzle. He could predict where each would step before they moved. Without touching anyone, he slipped through tiny openings that nobody else noticed. Within seconds, he had moved from the middle of the pack to the front 10. The first obstacle arrived. 3 enormous robots, even larger than the zero-pointer from the entrance exam, crashed down from hidden compartments. Students screamed. The robots swung massive steel fists. Concrete exploded beneath every strike. Bakugo grinned. Finally, he blasted upward with explosions, weaving between attacks. Todoroki calmly raised one hand. A glacier erupted across the battlefield, freezing the robot's legs solid. The crowd cheered, but Izuku didn't attack. He watched. Transparent realm. The robot's gears. Hydraulics. Power cores. Movement patterns. He smiled. Too slow. Golden flames flickered around his feet. Sun breathing. Third form. Raging sun. Instead of destroying the robots, Izuku darted between their legs in a blur of gold. Each movement was perfectly timed. A fist missed him by less than an inch. He ran along a falling arm, leapt from its shoulder, vaulted over another robot's head. The machines accidentally struck one another as they tried to catch him. One toppled, then another. The third collapsed under its own momentum. The stadium exploded into applause. Midnight laughed. He didn't defeat them. He made them defeat themselves. Even Aizawa allowed himself the faintest hint of a smile. The next section stretched across nearly half a kilometer. Thousands of explosive mines lay hidden beneath the dirt. One wrong step meant disaster. Bakugo launched himself into the air with continuous explosions. Todoroki froze a safe path across the field. Many students carefully tiptoed through. Izuku knelt, closed his eyes. Transparent realm. He couldn't see the mines themselves, but he could see disturbances beneath the soil, tiny differences in pressure, slight irregularities in the ground. Enough. He sprinted. Step, step, leap, slide, spin. Every footfall landed safely. His breathing never broke rhythm. Golden flames trailed behind him like sunlight dancing across water. He crossed the entire minefield without triggering a single explosion. The commentators fell silent. Present Mike finally shouted. He didn't set off a single mine. Beyond the minefield, only 3 students remained in front. Izuku, Bakugo, Todoroki. The 3 future rivals ran side by side. Bakugo growled. Stop holding back, Deku. Izuku smiled. I'm not. Bakugo clicked his tongue. Liar. Todoroki finally spoke. I've watched your recordings. Izuku looked over. You've never used your full strength. I haven't needed to. Bakugo barked a laugh. You two can compare notes after I beat both of you. The race continued. 3 future legends charging toward the finish line. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the canyon. One of the support course bridges collapsed. Dozens of students behind them fell into the ravine. Screams filled the air. Bakugo didn't stop. Neither did Todoroki. They focused only on the race. Izuku slowed, for just a fraction of a second, then turned around. He dashed back toward the collapsing bridge. Using sun-breathing enhanced speed, he grabbed 2 falling students and threw them safely towards solid ground. He caught another by the wrist, then another. Kirishima braced himself below, catching those Izuku couldn't reach. Momo quickly created emergency ropes. Zi used her tongue to pull several students upward. Within moments, the rescue was complete. Izuku looked toward the finish line. Bakugo and Todoroki had gained nearly 100 meters. Ochiko ran beside him. You just lost first place. Izuku smiled. If they're safe, it was worth it. Ochiko couldn't stop smiling. That's exactly who you are. Only a few hundred meters remained. Bakugo blasted forward. Todoroki covered the ground in ice. Izuku inhaled. His heartbeat synchronized. The warmth inside one for all and sun breathing merged. The vestiges whispered, Run. Trust yourself. Golden lightning erupted around his body for the first time. Not green. Gold. The spectators gasped. All Might stood. What? Izuku's feet barely touched the ground. He became a streak of sunlight racing across the stadium. In one breathtaking burst, he caught Bakugo, passed Todoroki, crossed the finish line. First place. The stadium stood in stunned silence. Then the crowd erupted into deafening applause. The giant scoreboard flashed. First, Izuku Midoriya. Second, Katsuki Bakugo. Third, Shoto Todoroki. All Might smiled proudly. You've grown so much. Young Midoriya. Far away, inside the darkness of the vestige world, the first user opened his eyes. The golden lightning. It has begun. The scoreboard continued to flash across the massive screens. First place, Izuku Midoriya. The crowd was louder than it had been all day. Professional heroes leaned forward in their seats. Commentators struggled to keep up with the excitement. Present Mike laughed into his microphone. What a finish. Midoriya not only took first place, but he stopped to rescue other students before crossing the finish line. Talk about heroic. The replay played across the giant screens. It showed Izuku turning back instead of continuing toward victory. Students who had been saved lowered their heads in gratitude. Some spectators even wiped tears from their eyes. Midnight smiled. He may have lost precious seconds, but he gained the hearts of the audience. Back in the waiting room, Class 1A celebrated. Kirishima clapped Izuku on the shoulder. That was the manliest thing I've ever seen. Ochiko laughed. I thought you were going to lose first place. Izuku rubbed the back of his head. So did I. Even Ida smiled. You acted exactly as a hero should. Before anyone could continue, Aizawa entered the room. Silence immediately followed. His tired eyes swept across the class. You all performed well. Several students straightened with pride. Then Aizawa looked directly at Izuku. You made the correct decision. The class looked surprised. Aizawa rarely complimented anyone. If saving people cost you first place, save them anyway. His gaze moved to the rest of the class. The sports festival isn't about proving who's strongest. It's about proving who deserves to become a hero. Those words stayed with every student, especially Bakugo. Present Mick's voice boomed once again. Time for the cavalry battle. The giant screen displayed the point values. Every student's score from the obstacle race would become the value of their headband. Then, the crowd gasped. Present Mike grinned. And because our first-place finisher was so impressive, we're giving him. He paused dramatically. 10 million points. The stadium exploded into laughter and cheers. Every student turned toward Izuku. Bakugo smirked. So you're the prize. Todoroki simply nodded. As expected, Izuku sighed. So, everyone's coming after me. Ochiko laughed nervously. Looks that way. Most students immediately began forming alliances. Izuku looked around. He knew no one would survive this event alone. Before he could ask anyone, Ochiko stepped forward. I want to be on your team. Her voice was calm, confident. I trust you. Ida adjusted his glasses. As do I. Before Izuku could answer, another voice spoke. If you'll have me. Mei Hatsum stood there with an enormous grin. My support gear needs exposure. Everyone stared. Izuku blinked. Sure. She pumped her fist. Excellent. Thus Team Midoriya was formed. Rider, Izuku Midoriya. Ochiko Uraraka. Tinya Ida. Mei Hatsum. As the teams prepared, Mei began unpacking equipment from an oversized backpack. Metal arms. Retractable stabilizers. Smoke dispensers. Spring-loaded boosters. Ida looked horrified. Is all of this safe? Mei smiled. Probably. Izuku laughed nervously. That's not very reassuring. She handed him a lightweight visor. It amplifies your field of view. He put it on. Transparent realm activated instinctively. His already enhanced perception became even clearer. Wow. Mei's eyes sparkled. It works. The starting horn sounded. Instantly, dozens of teams rushed toward Team Midoriya. They didn't care about anyone else. 10 million points was enough to win the event outright. Explosions erupted. Ice spread across the battlefield. Wind blasts filled the arena. Every direction became dangerous. Bakugo blasted toward Midoriya. Halfway there, he stopped. He glanced toward Todoroki. The two rivals exchanged a silent look. Neither liked the idea. Neither trusted the other. But both understood. If they fought each other first, Midoriya would escape. Bakugo clicked his tongue. TCH. Temporary truce. Todoroki nodded. Only until his headband is gone. Across the stadium, the spectators erupted. The two strongest competitors besides Midoriya had formed an uneasy alliance. Izuku's heartbeat slowed. Transparent realm. The stadium transformed. He could now perceive far more than muscles. He saw air currents, tiny shifts in weight, the direction each team intended to move before they moved. His mind processed dozens of attacks simultaneously. He smiled. It's evolving. For the first time, he wasn't merely reacting. He was controlling the flow of the battle. Bakugo attacked first. Massive explosions erupted across the arena. Todoroki's glacier surged in immediately after. A perfectly coordinated assault. The audience gasped. Izuku inhaled. Sun breathing. Sixth form, solar mirage. Golden flames shimmered around him. His movements became almost impossible to follow. Instead of one Midoriya, there appeared to be several. After images of sunlight danced across the battlefield, Bakugo exploded through one. It vanished. Todoroki froze another. Also gone. The real Izuku had already slipped behind both of them. The crowd roared. Present Mike nearly shouted himself hoarse. He's dancing through their attacks. As Izuku guided his team through another barrage of attacks, a calm voice echoed inside his mind. Not during a dream. Not inside the vestige world. Here. Now. Excellent. Izuku's eyes widened. Who's there? The world continued moving normally. No one else reacted. Stay focused. We're watching. You are beginning to hear us, even while conscious. Izuku nearly lost concentration. The first user's voice continued. The bridge between our souls is growing stronger. But don't rely on us. Walk your own path. The voice faded. Izuku took a slow breath. I will. The final minute of the event approached. Dozens of teams had already been eliminated. Bakugo made one final desperate charge. Todoroki covered nearly the entire arena in ice. Team Midoriya seemed trapped. Then Achiko smiled. I've got this. She made the entire team weightless. Ida activated Recipro Burst. Mei fired her booster rockets. Izuku timed everything perfectly. The team soared over the frozen battlefield like a shooting star. They landed just as the final buzzer sounded. The stadium erupted. Present Mike laughed. The 10 million point team survives. The giant screen lit up once more. One by one, the tournament matches appeared. Students scanned the board eagerly. Izuku's eyes stopped on one name. Round 2. Izuku Midoriya versus Hitoshi Shinso. Across the arena, Shinso smiled slightly. So, the hero everyone keeps talking about. This should be interesting. High above the arena, Todoroki folded his arms. If he gets past Shinso, our match will finally happen. Bakugo stared at the bracket with burning determination. No matter who stands in my way, I'm winning. Izuku looked toward the arena. He smiled. Not because he wanted glory, not because he wanted fame, but because every battle was another chance to grow, another chance to become worthy of the power entrusted to him. And somewhere deep within One for All, the vestiges smiled. The ninth holder was beginning to forge a path unlike any before him. The sports festival arena had transformed. The obstacle course and cavalry battle were over. Now only 16 students remained. The atmosphere was different, quieter, more focused. Every match from this point forward would be one-on-one. No teammates, no excuses, just two students standing in the arena. Professional heroes filled the observation booths. Agency scouts prepared notebooks. Television cameras focused on every competitor. The entire country was watching. In the competitor's waiting room, Izuku sat alone with one of his notebooks open. Instead of writing strategies for defeating his opponents, he was writing about them. Hitoshi Shinso. Excellent tactical intelligence. Brainwashing activates after verbal response. Appears lonely. Probably underestimated by others. Wants to become a hero despite the reputation of his quirk. Izuku smiled faintly. He reminds me of myself before I met All Might. As he closed the notebook, someone approached. Shinso. The purple-haired general studies student looked surprised when he noticed the notebook. You've been studying me? Izuku nodded. I study everyone. Shinso laughed. I figured you'd write down ways to beat me. I did. But I also wanted to understand you. That answer caught Shinso completely off guard. Understand me? Izuku looked him in the eyes. A quirk doesn't decide whether someone can become a hero. Silence. For several seconds, Shinso couldn't speak. Most people looked at his brainwashing quirk and saw a future villain. Midoriya looked at him and saw a person. Midnight's voice echoed through the stadium. First match. Hitoshi Shinso versus Izuku Midoriya. The crowd cheered. The two students walked into the arena. Present Mike shouted excitedly. Can the mysterious general studies student pull off another upset? Shinso looked calm. So, you're All Might's favorite now? Izuku smiled politely but didn't answer. Shinso continued. You know, I bet everyone expects you to win. Still no response. Shinso frowned. I've heard people say you're already stronger than most pro heroes. Nothing. Shinso sighed. So that's your strategy. Izuku nodded. I know how your quirk works. The audience murmured. Start. Shinso immediately charged. Instead of relying only on his quirk, he attacked with surprising skill. Years of physical training showed in every movement. Izuku blocked the punches calmly. Transparent realm activated. Every muscle contraction. Every shift in Shinso's balance. Every feint. Perfectly visible. The exchange lasted less than 30 seconds. Neither landed a clean hit. Finally, Shinso stepped back, breathing heavily. You really weren't kidding. Izuku lowered his stance. You're strong. Shinso blinked. What? I think you'd do well in the hero course. For the first time in years, someone outside general studies believed in him. Shinso smiled. A genuine smile. Thanks. He rushed forward one last time. The match ended with a clean throw. Izuku carefully guided Shinso to the ground instead of slamming him. Winner. Izuku Midoriya. The audience applauded. As they left the arena, Shinso extended his hand. I'll get into the hero course someday. Izuku shook it. I know you will. Elsewhere, Shoto Todoroki watched quietly. He had defeated his own opponent with overwhelming ease. But his attention never left Midoriya. He's different. He fights to understand people, not just defeat them. It reminded him painfully of someone. His mother. The tournament advanced rapidly. Bakugo dominated his match. Tokoyami advanced. Todoroki advanced. And finally, the scoreboard displayed the next fight. Izuku Midoriya versus Shoto Todoroki. The stadium erupted into cheers. Present Mike nearly lost his voice. This is the match everyone's been waiting for. The arena fell silent. Todoroki stood at one end, Izuku at the other. A cold wind swept across the stadium. Golden sunlight broke through the clouds. Neither spoke immediately. Then Todoroki broke the silence. I've watched every fight you've had. Izuku smiled. I've watched yours too. You aren't using your full strength. Neither are you. Todoroki's eyes narrowed. You noticed. Transparent realm. Izuku had seen it during every previous match. Todoroki intentionally refused to use his left side. His fire. His father's power. Todoroki took a deep breath. My fire belongs to him. I'll become the #1 hero. Without ever using it. The stadium fell silent. Many spectators looked confused. Only a few pro heroes understood what those words truly meant. Izuku looked at him carefully. Not as an opponent. As a person carrying an unbearable burden. He remembered All Might's words. Power doesn't decide who you are. He took a slow breath. Golden warmth flowed through his body. Todoroki, you think refusing your fire hurts endeavor. Shoto remained silent. But the one you're really hurting is yourself. The words struck harder than any punch. Izuku continued. Your flames aren't your father's. They're yours. You decide what they mean. You decide who you become. No shouting. No anger. Just quiet conviction. The stadium became completely silent. Even Endeavor, watching from the VIP section, leaned forward. Begin. Ice exploded across the arena. Massive glaciers rushed toward Izuku. He inhaled. Sun breathing, second form, clear blue sky. Golden arcs sliced through the ice. The frozen battlefield shattered into glittering crystals. Todoroki attacked again. Larger. Faster. Colder. Izuku danced through the blizzard. The transparent realm guided every step. He never wasted movement. Never panicked. The spectators watched in amazement. It looks like he's dancing. The battle continued. Todoroki pushed harder than ever before. Ice towers filled the stadium. The temperature dropped dramatically. Breath became visible. Izuku stood at the center of the frozen arena. He closed his eyes. One deep breath. Another. The rhythm changed. His heartbeat synchronized with One for All. Golden flames expanded around him. Not wild. Not destructive. Warm. Radiant. Like sunrise after the longest night. The ice around him began melting. not from heat alone, but from overwhelming energy. The vestiges watched silently from within one for all. The first user smiled. This isn't merely sun breathing anymore. He's creating something entirely his own. Izuku looked at Todoroki. I'm not asking you to forgive Endeavor. I'm asking you to stop letting him control your future. Todoroki's eyes widened. His memories flooded back. His mother smiling, her hand gently touching his face. Your left side is beautiful too. Tears filled his eyes. For years, he had buried those words. Now, they returned. He slowly raised his left hand. A small orange flame appeared. The stadium held its breath. Then, the fire erupted. Not in anger, not in hatred, but in acceptance. The crowd exploded into applause. Even All Might smiled. Endeavor stared silently, unable to look away. Izuku smiled back at Todoroki. Welcome back. The instant Shoto Todoroki released the flames from his left side, the atmosphere inside UA Stadium changed. Orange fire spiraled into the sky. Blue-white ice covered half the arena. Steam billowed upward until it looked as though the battlefield itself had become a cloud. The audience sat in stunned silence. Then the cheering began. Thousands of voices shook the stadium. Not because someone had won, but because everyone had just witnessed a young man break the chains that had bound him for years. In the VIP section, Endeavor stood frozen. His fists trembled. For years he had demanded that Shoto use his fire. Today, his son had finally done it. But not because of him. Because another boy had reminded Shoto that his power belonged to himself. Endeavor slowly looked toward Izuku. Midoriya, what kind of person are you? Steam covered the arena. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. Present mix excited commentary faded beneath the roar of the crowd. Only the two fighters could hear one another. Shoto inhaled deeply. I've spent years refusing half of who I am. Golden flames danced around Izuku. I know. But now, Shoto's expression hardened. I'm fighting as myself. A pillar of fire erupted from his left hand. At the same time, ice surged from his right. The attacks twisted together like twin dragons racing toward Izuku. Izuku closed his eyes. One breath, then another. The world became silent. When he opened his eyes again, the transparent realm had changed. For the first time, he no longer saw only muscles and blood flow. He saw energy. Streams of heat flowed through Todoroki's left side. Cold currents gathered through his right. He could see how each attack formed before it was launched. Even more surprising, he could faintly see the flow of one for all inside his own body. Golden currents intertwined with emerald lightning, like two rivers becoming one. Inside the vestige world, the previous holders watched quietly. The fourth user folded his arms. The transparent realm is adapting to one for all. The fifth user smiled. I've never seen anything like this. The first user nodded. Our successor continues to surpass expectations. The flames reached him first. Izuku stepped forward. Not backward. Forward. His feet moved in a graceful rhythm. Every movement flowed naturally into the next. He avoided every blast by the width of a single finger. Ice spears erupted beneath him. He leaped, spun, landed. Each step resembled a dance performed beneath the morning sun. The crowd watched in awe. Recovery Girl smiled from the medical booth. He isn't just fighting, he's expressing himself. Izuku stopped moving. The stadium became quiet. He lowered his stance. One hand rested near the wooden practice blade he carried for training. He inhaled, the deepest breath of his life. His heartbeat slowed. 1, 2, 3. Golden lights spread across the arena. The warmth reached the spectators. Children in the audience smiled without realizing why. The vestiges looked at one another. The first user whispered, "So this is the technique." Izuku opened his eyes. Sun breathing, seventh form. Solar horizon. He moved. No explosion. No massive burst of speed. Instead, he became impossible to perceive. Even professional heroes briefly lost sight of him. Only a golden line stretched across the battlefield. When the light faded, every glacier surrounding Todoroki shattered at once. Not from overwhelming force, from perfect precision. Each slash had struck the exact weakest point in the ice. Todoroki stared. Amazing. The battle continued for several more minutes. Neither student gained a decisive advantage. Todoroki's mastery over both fire and ice improved with every exchange. Izuku adapted equally quickly. One for all strengthened every breath. Sun breathing refined every movement. Eventually, both students stood breathing heavily, bruised, exhausted, smiling. Todoroki lowered his hands. I finally understand. Izuku tilted his head. You weren't trying to beat me. No, I was trying to save you. For several seconds, neither moved. Then Todoroki laughed. It was quiet, awkward, but genuine. The first real laugh many people had ever heard from him. Midnight raised her hand. Finish the match. Both boys nodded. One final attack. Everything they had. No regrets. Todoroki unleashed his largest combination attack yet. An enormous wall of ice surged forward while pillars of fire erupted behind it, creating a blazing storm. Izuku smiled. This is it. Golden lightning flashed. The mysterious golden currents inside One for All ignited. The vestiges stood. All of them. The first user spoke. Carry our hopes. The ninth holder answered with a whisper. I will. Izuku inhaled. Solar horizon. This time, combined with 20% One for All. The collision shook the entire stadium. A pillar of light shot into the clouds. Windows rattled throughout the UA campus. When the smoke finally cleared, both students stood at opposite ends of the destroyed arena. For one brief second, neither moved. Then, Todoroki's knees buckled. He collapsed. Izuku remained standing. Barely. Midnight raised her whip. Winner. Izuku Midoriya. The stadium erupted. Medical staff rushed into the arena. As Todoroki was helped to his feet, he stopped beside Izuku. Thank you. Izuku smiled. For what? For reminding me that my future belongs to me. The two boys shook hands. The cameras captured the moment. By the next morning, it would appear on the front page of newspapers across Japan. Back in the waiting room, Bakugo watched the replay alone. He had expected anger. Instead, he felt something unfamiliar. Respect. Damn you, Deku. He clenched his fists. If you're climbing that high, then I'll climb higher. For the first time, Bakugo no longer wanted to defeat Izuku because of pride. He wanted to become worthy of standing beside him. That night, Izuku entered the vestige world once again. The first user greeted him. You've earned an answer. Izuku looked at the golden energy surrounding him. What is it? The first user smiled. It is called Solar Core. The harmony between One for All and the breath of the sun. It cannot be taught. It cannot be copied. It exists only because of the path you've walked. It will continue to grow. As your heart grows. Izuku looked at the golden light flowing through his body. He could feel its warmth, its kindness, its immense power. He understood now. Strength alone had never awakened it. Compassion had. As dawn broke over Mizuta-fu, the sun climbed slowly above the horizon. Izuku stood on the dormitory balcony, watching its first rays spread across the city. He smiled quietly, not because he had won, but because another person had been saved. And to him, that was the greatest victory a hero could ever achieve. The sports festival stadium had barely recovered from the clash between Izuku Midoriya and Shoto Todoroki. Repair crews hurried to replace shattered sections of the arena floor. Students whispered excitedly throughout the stands. The commentators replayed highlights from the battle over and over again. One moment appeared more than any other. Izuku extending his hand to Todoroki after the match. President Mike laughed. I've been announcing the sports festival for years, but these first years are unbelievable. Midnight smiled. They're going to change hero society one day. The next match. Katsuki Bakugo versus Fumikage Tokoyami. Tokoyami stood calmly in the arena. Dark shadow hovered behind him. Bakugo cracked his knuckles. I'm not ending this quickly. Dark shadow growled. We shall see. The battle began. Dark shadow lunged like a black tidal wave. Bakugo blasted backward, narrowly avoiding the attack. Unlike in the original timeline, Bakugo wasn't fighting recklessly. Since losing to Izuku in the battle trial, he had begun studying, thinking, learning, exactly what Izuku had unknowingly inspired him to do. Instead of overpowering Dark Shadow, Bakugo manipulated the battlefield. He blasted pieces of broken concrete into the air, reflecting sunlight deeper into the arena. Every explosion increased the brightness. Dark Shadow flinched. Tokoyami noticed immediately. So that's your strategy. Bakugo smirked. You finally figured it out. A massive explosion erupted overhead. Sunlight flooded the arena. Dark Shadow weakened instantly. Bakugo seized the opening. AP shot. A concentrated blast struck just in front of Tokoyami, forcing him out of bounds. Midnight raised her hand. Winner! Katsuki Bakugo. The crowd cheered. Izuku smiled from the waiting room. He's adapting. That's exactly what heroes do. The second semifinal appeared on the giant screen. Izuku Midoriya versus Tenya Ida. The audience applauded respectfully. Both boys walked into the arena together. As they reached the center, Ida extended his hand. It has been an honor training with you. Izuku shook it firmly. The honor is mine. No hostility. No hatred. Just two friends determined to give everything they had. Midnight signaled the start. Immediately, Ida activated Recipro Burst. His engines roared. He vanished. The audience gasped. Only a blur remained. Most students would have lost sight of him. Izuku didn't. Transparent realm. He could see the strain building in Ida's calf engines. He could predict every turn before it happened. Still, he smiled. He's gotten faster. Ida circled the arena at incredible speed, creating gusts of wind, launching surprise attacks from every angle. Each punch narrowly missed. Not because Ida lacked skill, because Izuku's perception had reached another level. The transparent realm no longer merely slowed the world. It allowed him to understand rhythm. The rhythm of footsteps. The rhythm of breathing. The rhythm of combat itself. He moved only when necessary. Every dodge was efficient. Every block perfectly timed. As they exchanged blows, Ida suddenly spoke. My brother once told me that a true hero inspires others. He smiled. I understand now what he meant. Izuku blinked. You've inspired all of us. Kirishima to train harder. Achiko to believe in herself. Todoroki to accept himself. Even Bakugo to improve. Ida charged one final time. I refuse to lose without showing you everything I have. Blue flames erupted from Ida's engines. His speed doubled. The arena floor cracked beneath each step. Present Mike shouted. He's even faster than before. Recovery Girl leaned forward. He's pushing his engines past their normal limits. Izuku inhaled. Golden flames shimmered around him. Multiple afterimages appeared across the arena. Ida charged one illusion. Then another. Then another. Each vanished into sunlight. Finally, he realized. Too late. The real Izuku stood directly behind him. Ida. He gently placed a hand on his shoulder. I've got you. With one smooth throw, Ida landed safely outside the ring. Midnight raised her arm. Winner. Izuku Midoriya. Instead of disappointment, Ida smiled. As Izuku helped him stand, the stadium erupted into applause. Neither boy had fought to humiliate the other. They had pushed one another to become stronger. All Might quietly wiped away a tear. Young Midoriya, you've become the kind of hero Nana dreamed about. That evening, as the festival concluded for the day, All Might found Izuku outside UA. Waiting beside him was a tiny elderly man wearing a yellow tracksuit and a mischievous grin. Izuku blinked. Who are you? The old man poked him in the forehead. So you're Toshinori's successor. All Might sighed. Young Midoriya, I'd like you to meet Gran Torino. The old hero grinned. Heh, you don't look very impressive. Without warning, he disappeared. Izuku barely had time to activate the transparent realm. Gran Torino appeared inches from his face. His kick stopped just before making contact. Izuku's eyes widened. So you can react. Gran Torino laughed. Good. Because starting tomorrow, I'm going to beat every bad habit out of you. That night, Izuku entered the vestige world once again. This time, the darkness was brighter than before. The silhouettes of the previous holders had become clearer. The first user smiled. Your connection continues to deepen. The fifth user folded his arms. Solar core is stabilizing. The sixth user looked concerned. Too quickly. Izuku frowned. What do you mean? Before anyone answered, a cold feeling spread through the endless space. Every vestige turned toward the darkness. A distant silhouette stood far beyond the circle of light. Watching. Silent. Its features couldn't be seen. Only two glowing eyes. The first user's expression became serious. Not yet. The figure disappeared. Izuku looked around. Who was that? No one answered immediately. Finally, the first user spoke. There are still mysteries within One for All. Some memories have yet to awaken. Outside, in the real world, the sun rose over UA. A new chapter was about to begin. The sports festival had ended. The students had shown the world their potential. Now, they would begin learning what it truly meant to become professional heroes. And for Izuku Midoriya, training under Gran Torino would mark the beginning of a journey that would reshape both Sun Breathing and One for All forever. End of part 2. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it and want to see more what if stories, please like and subscribe.